For 45 years, a city of 75,000 people didn't exist. Not on maps, not in official records, not in phone books. Just 40 kilometers south of Berlin, in East Germany, hidden, classified, forbidden. This was Wünsdorf, codename Little Moscow, headquarters of Soviet forces in Germany, from 1945 to 1994, the largest Soviet military base outside USSR. Command center for 500,000 troops, nuclear bunkers, underground facilities, secret communications networks, all invisible, all denied, all erased from cartography, as if 75,000 soldiers and their families simply weren't there. The town existed before Soviets. Prussian military used it since 1910. Kaiser's army built barracks, training grounds, headquarters complex. World War I command operations ran from here. Weimar Republic continued military presence. Then Nazis. Wehrmacht High Command occupied Wünsdorf, 1935-1945. Maybach bunker complex built underneath. Reinforced concrete, multiple levels. Communications equipment. Hitler's generals directed operations from here. Planning, coordinating, losing, until Soviet troops arrived April 1945 and never left. The Soviets found perfect infrastructure, barracks for thousands, administrative buildings, underground bunkers, communication systems. Everything needed for occupation headquarters. They expanded it massively, adding housing blocks, schools, hospitals, shopping centers, swimming pools, theaters, sports facilities. Complete Soviet city, self-sufficient, isolated, forbidden to Germans, forbidden to outsiders. Even most Soviets couldn't enter without authorization. Classification was absolute. Security was paranoid. Walls, guards, checkpoints, cameras, dogs. Everything to ensure nobody saw what happened inside. What happened inside was command. Group of Soviet forces Germany controlled from Wünsdorf. 380,000 troops at peak, spread across East Germany. 24 divisions, tank armies, air forces, nuclear weapons, all directed from here. Underground command posts, hardened against nuclear attack. Communications reaching Moscow directly, encrypted, secure, redundant. This was front line of Cold War, border with West, potential World War III battlefield. Commanders needed protection, needed infrastructure, needed Little Moscow. The bunker system was extensive. Maybach complex from Nazi era expanded. Soviet engineers added levels, tunnels, blast doors, air filtration, independent power, water supplies, food storage, designed to survive nuclear war, to continue commanding even after strikes. Soviet doctrine required this. Decapitation strikes were expected. Leadership had to survive. Command had to continue. Wünsdorf bunkers ensured this, at least theoretically. Whether they could actually survive modern weapons is questionable, but Cold War logic demanded trying. Life inside Little Moscow was strange. Soviet citizens living in Germany, but not experiencing Germany. Complete isolation, Russian schools, Russian shops, Russian culture, Russian language. German contact was minimal, forbidden mostly. Soldiers weren't supposed to fraternize. Families weren't supposed to explore. Everyone stayed inside wire, inside bubble, inside Little Moscow. This created bizarre situation. City in Germany that wasn't German, wasn't Soviet either. Something between, something neither. Liminal space, existing but not existing, there but not there. The removal from maps was deliberate. Soviet policy, all military installations classified, locations secret, even cities housing tens of thousands. Western intelligence knew Wünsdorf existed, obviously. Satellites photographed it. Agents reported activity, but official maps showed nothing. Empty space, forest, small village maybe. Never military city, never 75,000 people. This was fiction. Everyone knew it was fiction, but fiction maintained, because classification demanded it, because secrecy required it, because Cold War operated on absurdities like invisible cities. Do you believe classified cities are justified? During Cold War, maybe. National security, military necessity, protecting installations from targeting, from espionage, from enemy knowledge. Makes sense. Sort of. But the extreme secrecy seems excessive. Wünsdorf wasn't secret location. Everyone knew where it was. Removing from maps didn't hide it, just pretended. Created official lie. Maintained for decades. Why? Bureaucratic inertia, probably. Classification once applied, stays applied. Forever, regardless of reason, regardless of logic, just policy, applied blindly. The environmental damage was catastrophic. Soviet forces weren't careful. Fuel spilled, chemicals dumped, waste buried, groundwater contaminated, soil polluted, buildings contained asbestos, lead paint, toxic materials, everywhere. After withdrawal 1994, German authorities assessed, found disaster. Cleanup would take decades, cost billions. Some areas were uninhabitable. Some remain contaminated today. This is Soviet legacy, environmental destruction, ignoring consequences, leaving poison behind. Wünsdorf suffered this completely. The withdrawal was chaotic. Soviet Union collapsed 1991. Germany reunified 1990. Suddenly, Soviet forces weren't welcome, weren't legal, weren't wanted. Negotiations determined timeline. 1994 deadline. Final troops left September 1994. Ceremony, flag lowered, gates closed. Little Moscow ended, but they left everything behind. Equipment, furniture, documents, personal belongings, thousands of items just abandoned. Looted afterward, vandalized, destroyed. What wasn't stolen was ruined. Typical post-Soviet collapse pattern. Order to chaos instantly. The bunkers attracted attention immediately. Urban explorers, adventurers, curious Germans. Everyone wanted to see Soviet secret facilities, underground complexes, command posts, communication rooms, all accessible suddenly. Gates broken, guards gone, security non-existent. People explored freely, photographed everything, documented Cold War infrastructure. This was valuable. Historical record created. Before demolition, before cleanup, before sanitization, raw evidence preserved, through unofficial documentation, through trespassing, through illegal exploration. Sometimes rules must be broken to preserve history. German government faced problems. What to do with massive abandoned military base, contaminated, damaged, obsolete, but potentially valuable. Real estate near Berlin, developable, saleable, but cleanup required first, assessment, remediation, demolition, years of work, millions of euros. Before any development, some buildings preserved, historical value, monument status, Soviet occupation museum, educational purpose, tourism potential. Others demolished, too damaged, too contaminated, too expensive, mixed approach, preservation and destruction, balanced, pragmatic. The housing blocks were typical Soviet construction, prefabricated concrete, identical buildings, minimal design, maximum efficiency, cheap, fast, ugly, but functional. Thousands lived in these. Officers, soldiers, families, children born here, growing up in Little Moscow, never seeing real Germany, never experiencing real life, just military isolation, Soviet bubble. Then 1994, evacuation, everyone leaving, returning to Russia, to chaos, to poverty, to collapse. Wünsdorf might have been isolated, but it was stable, secure, provided for. Russia in 1990s was none of these. Many veterans regretted leaving, remembered Little Moscow fondly, as better time, better life, better world. Even though it was lie, even though it was prison, even though it was temporary. The cultural facilities were impressive. Theater seated 1,200, swimming pool Olympic standard, sports complex professional quality, library extensive, cinema modern, officers club luxurious, all maintained, all staffed, all operating. Normal city services for abnormal city. This is Soviet paradox, investing heavily in military, providing well for soldiers, while civilian population struggled, while Soviet Union crumbled, while economy failed, military maintained standards, kept privileges. Wünsdorf showed this, well-equipped, well-maintained, well-supplied, until the end, then collapse, then abandonment, then ruin. The children's experience was unique. Soviet kids in Germany, educated in Russian, playing in Soviet playgrounds, watching Soviet television, reading Soviet books, completely isolated from German culture, from Western influence, from reality. They thought this was normal, thought everyone lived like this, behind wire, under surveillance, with guards, with secrecy. Only after leaving, after returning to Russia, after experiencing normal life, did they realize how strange it was, how abnormal, how prison-like. Little Moscow was gilded cage, comfortable cage, but cage nonetheless. The medical facilities were advanced. Hospital with 500 beds, modern equipment, specialized departments, serving military community, treating soldiers, families, dependents. Better than most Soviet civilian hospitals. Better than many German hospitals even. This attracted resentment. Local Germans saw resources, quality, care, not available to them, while occupiers received everything. This was deliberate, Soviet priority, military first, always, civilians last, everywhere. Wünsdorf embodied this, visible example of inequality, of privilege, of system designed to benefit few at expense of many. The withdrawal revealed secrets, documents found, equipment discovered, underground facilities explored. Western intelligence documented everything, learning Soviet procedures, understanding command structure, analyzing communications, technology, doctrine. Everything left behind was intelligence. Everything abandoned was evidence. Cold War archaeology, immediate, recent, relevant. This information shaped understanding, informed assessments, changed evaluations of Soviet capability, Soviet organization, Soviet readiness. Turned out much was outdated, poorly maintained, less capable than feared. Cold War paranoia had overestimated. Reality was decay, neglect, decline. This was reassuring and sad. Powerful enemy became pathetic remnant, quickly, completely. The prostitution issue was dark. Soviet soldiers, German women, economic desperation, post-unification unemployment, desperate times, desperate measures. Some German women serviced Soviet garrison for money, for survival. This created resentment, tension, violence sometimes. Soldiers were customers, also occupiers, also enemies culturally. Complex dynamic, painful dynamic, exploitative dynamic, on all sides. This isn't discussed much. Uncomfortable history, embarrassing history, but real. Common around military bases, everywhere, throughout time. Wünsdorf was no different. The cemetery remains, Soviet War Memorial, thousands buried here, soldiers who died during occupation, from accidents, from illness, from suicide, from various causes. Over 45 years, many died. Germany maintained cemetery, treaty obligation, historical responsibility. Memorial is preserved, tended, respected, regardless of politics, regardless of history, regardless of occupation. Dead deserve respect. This is proper. This is right. Even occupiers, even enemies, even Soviets. Death ends hostility. Graves are neutral ground. Today, Wünsdorf is redeveloped, partially, housing, businesses, museums, but areas remain abandoned. Too contaminated, too expensive, too damaged. Forest reclaiming some sections, buildings collapsing, bunkers flooding, nature winning, slowly, inexorably. Soviet concrete crumbles, Soviet paint peels, Soviet dreams fade, into memory, into history, into cautionary tale. about empires, about military excess, about occupation, about Cold War, about secrecy, about cities that officially didn't exist, but very much did, to 75,000 people. Who lived there? Who remember? Who tell stories? About Little Moscow, about Invisible City, about life behind wire, about history erased from maps, but not from memory, never from memory. If secret Soviet cities and Cold War occupation mysteries intrigue you, subscribe to Veiled Origin. This is Veiled Origin, where cities existed off maps, and 75,000 people officially weren't there, until 1994, until Withdrawal, until Revelation. The architectural contrast is striking. Prussian buildings from 1910s, classical German military style, solid, dignified, permanent. Then Soviet additions, brutalist concrete, functional, austere, temporary feeling, despite decades of use. Two empires, two aesthetics, two philosophies, coexisting, overlapping, but never integrating. German buildings showed craftsmanship, attention to detail, quality construction. Soviet buildings showed urgency, economy, standardization. This tells story about cultures, about priorities, about how empires build, what they value, what they ignore. The propaganda machine operated from here. Soviet forces newspaper published in Wünsdorf, radio broadcast produced, cultural programming created, all maintaining Soviet narrative, all reinforcing ideology, all keeping troops loyal, isolated. This was crucial. Troops stationed in Germany saw Western prosperity, Western freedom, Western life, could compare, could question, could doubt. Propaganda countered this, explaining contradictions, justifying system, maintaining belief, or at least compliance. How effective was it? Unclear, but system persisted 45 years, until Soviet collapse. Then everyone left, quickly, suggesting maybe propaganda wasn't that effective. Maybe compliance was just survival. Maybe belief was just performance. The telephone system was separate. Soviet military network, not connected to German phones, not accessible from outside, completely isolated. Communications went to Moscow, to other Soviet bases, never to German civilians, never to West. This isolation was total, deliberate, essential, preventing contact, preventing leaks, preventing infiltration, but also preventing normalization, preventing relationships, preventing humanity. Soviet soldiers were occupiers, not neighbors, not community members, not people, just military force, isolated, controlled, managed. This was policy. This was Cold War. This was Wünsdorf reality. The water supply was independent. Wells, treatment plant, distribution network, all Soviet operated, all separated from German utilities. This was practical. Security measure, preventing sabotage, preventing poisoning, preventing vulnerability, but also symbolic. Complete separation, complete isolation. Soviet city using Soviet water. Never mixing with German, even underground, even in pipes, even in something as basic as water. Isolation extended to everything, touched everything, defined everything. This is what occupation looks like, when occupiers never integrate, never become part of landscape, just exist parallel, separate, other. The economic impact on nearby German towns was complex. Soldiers had money, sometimes. Spent in local stores, sometimes, when allowed. When rules relaxed, this created income, jobs, business, but also resentment. Occupiers buying German goods, using German services, while denying Germans access to Soviet base. One-way relationship. Germans served, Soviets consumed. No reciprocity, no equality, no friendship, just economics, transactional, cold. This pattern repeated across East Germany. Soviet bases everywhere, all isolated, all consuming, all resented. Wünsdorf was largest, but not unique, just extreme example. The sports facilities were political, Officers competed in athletics, football, basketball, swimming, against each other, against other Soviet bases, creating community, creating loyalty, creating identity. Sports do this everywhere, but in Wünsdorf especially, because isolation made internal community crucial. Without German integration, without external relationships, internal bonds had to suffice. Sports helped, created teams, created rivalries, created belonging to Little Moscow, to Soviet forces, to military family. This worked until it didn't, until withdrawal, until teams dissolved, until communities scattered. Across Russia, across former Soviet space, some maintaining contact, most losing touch, most forgetting, except for memory of better time, when they played sports in Germany, together. The Orthodox Church was important. Spiritual center, cultural anchor, Russian tradition maintained. In Germany, in isolation, priests served military community, baptized children, married couples, buried dead, maintained continuity with Russian heritage, with Soviet identity, with home. This mattered psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, even in atheist Soviet system, even in communist state. Faith persisted, quietly, privately, officially discouraged but tolerated, in military especially, because morale mattered, because soldiers needed something, because isolation was hard. Church helped, provided comfort, provided meaning, provided connection to something larger than military, than occupation, than Wünsdorf. The veterans' memories are mixed. Some remember positively, stable life, good housing, secure employment, everything provided, compared to Soviet Union chaos, compared to 1990s Russia poverty. Wünsdorf was paradise. Others remember negatively, prison, isolation, boredom, endless, oppressive, missing home, missing Russia, missing normal life. Both perspectives are valid. Both are true, simultaneously. This is military service. This is occupation duty. This is living off maps, in city that officially doesn't exist, doing job that officially isn't happening, living life that officially isn't lived, for 45 years, then suddenly over, suddenly ended, suddenly just memory. The photograph collection matters. Former residents, urban explorers, historians, all documenting Little Moscow, before demolition, before cleanup, before history erased, again, differently. These images preserve what maps denied, what secrecy hid, what classification concealed. Soviet city in Germany, real, concrete, photographed, proven, no longer deniable, no longer invisible. These photographs are evidence, historical record, future understanding of Cold War, of occupation, of secret cities, of lives lived off maps. This documentation is crucial because official records are classified, destroyed, inaccessible. Photographs remain, truth remains, memory remains. The future is uncertain. Development continues, slowly. Some areas redeveloped, housing sold, businesses operating, museum established, tourism growing, but much remains abandoned, contaminated, unsafe, expensive to fix, waiting, decaying. Time will handle it, eventually, through collapse, through nature reclaiming, through history consuming its own remains. This is patient approach, letting time decide, letting economics determine, letting nature take over. What humans can't solve, what governments won't fund, what society doesn't prioritize, eventually resolves itself through entropy, through decay, through disappearance, complete, final. If secret Soviet cities and occupation history fascinate you, subscribe to Veiled Origin. This is Veiled Origin, where 75,000 people live nowhere, on no map, in no records, just memory, just history, just ruins, slowly disappearing, forever.